Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to cut out this Steve Good Kneeling Angel project. I originally started looking for a rose pattern this morning, and somehow I've ended up doing an angel cutout. On the original one by Steve Good, if you search Steve Good catalogue, you will find this template. There was a kneeling angel, and then with an image of, I'll say it's Jesus or God or whoever she's kneeling in front of. I'm not a religious person, so I'm just looking at this as a nice little project, just to basically use up some scrap wood. Now you can see there by looking at the sizes, it's quite a chunky thing. That just says 3/4 inch thick. So I've actually found a bit of scrap wood there for one of my previous projects, and that comes in at 3/4. And obviously we've done the same thing with the two arms and the two sides of the body coming in at half an inch. So you've got a 3/4 plus a half an inch on that side and an half, so it's going to be quite chunky, and that does come in at half an inch. So far we're doing good, and there's a little base for it to fit on. Personally myself, I think once you've put all this together you probably wouldn't need the base, but we're going to cut out the half-inch base as it says there. The only thing I couldn't find was 1/4 inch thickness for the actual wings itself. Now I did have a bit of plywood I could have used, but I'm going to stick with this half-inch wood, and we will cut one out and I will try and split it on the scroll saw. If it doesn't work out, we'll just do two half-inch thick wings, and we're going to do a lot of Dremel shaping around the feathered area, so we'll get it somewhere near 3/4, I'm sure, by the time we finish. So on this one you can see we've stuck down the painter's tape. I'll just grab it over here quickly, just lined up with the painter's tape. I've cut this out of a A4 size just so we're not wasting too much tape should I say. And then we sprayed on a bit of glue there and basically just glued them all down. Now there is only two inner cuts. They're cuts that we cannot get to without drilling a pilot hole. So the inside of the right leg there, I'm looking at that, and the inside of the left foot, should I say, and the right foot. So we pre-drilled a hole there, and that is just enough to feed your blade through, and that will allow us to cut that inner section out. Just the two pieces on this little project. The rest are all outer cuts, so we won't have any problems with those. Now for me personally, I like to use spiral blades. It's just a personal choice, and spiral blades are not for everybody, that is for sure. Now a spiral blade, the teeth spiral the full length, so you can cut in any direction. So we could literally start our blade there and just cut that basically just by going around with the wood like so. With your other two blades, they are pinned. They have a pin at both ends. This will be fine for this cut. I do believe we could get a bigger hole, and you might just fit it, you will fit it in that hole there with a bigger pilot hole. With these two blades, be it your pinned, and obviously the next one is your pinless blade. They work with a little clamp device on your saws that holds them together, top and bottom. You will be able to come in and cut round these just the same as a spiral blade. But remembering with these straight blades, you would have to feed your wood into the blade, turn your wood completely, then feed it, and then turn it again and feed. Turn, twist, turn, twist, turn, twist. And there's a lot of turning and twisting with straight blades. Some fantastic people out there, they certainly know how to use them. I did start off with straight blades, but over time I discovered these spiral blades, and for me they work fine for my little projects. Unfortunately with my little Draper scroll saw over there that came off Noah's Ark, it only takes pin blades. So for pinless blades I require these adapter clamps, and there's different ones out there. If you search Draper adapter clamp, this will come up. Axminster do one, and there's different types out there, and they literally just fit on your saw, your blade should I say, at the top and bottom there with a little Allen key. They are a bit of a pain sometimes if you're doing a big project and you've got 300 holes to cut out. So they're certainly not for you. So if you're going to purchase a scroll saw, get one that takes pinless blades. It will just save you a lot of hassle. But we make do what we've got. So like I say, Allen key, you pop that on there, tighten it up, and that just literally just hooks onto your saw, as if it's got a pin on the end. And remember, with your blades, be them spiral blades or the other two blades we've mentioned here, they want to feel smooth on the way down, and rough on the way up. That way you've got your blade in the right way. It is possible to cut it the wrong way around, and you'll soon find out, because as you're cutting, all the dust will getting pulled to the top far too much, and the paper might be tearing as well. So you'll soon know if you've got it the wrong way around. Right, we'll set this up on the scroll saw in the corner there. We'll do those first two little inner cuts, start cutting these out, and then when it's all done, we'll see what the general shape is, and then we'll come in with a Dremel and a sanding drum and just give it a bit more shape to it. Okay, let's start cutting this one out. Right, there's all our bits cut out, and as I've cut each one out, I've literally got some sandpaper, because you will find those little fuzzes there on the back. That is the only downside to spiral blades, but it's a matter of seconds to go in like so, and basically just you can clear them all out. And I've done that on each piece as we've gone along, and you can see from there they're all nicely cleared out. Now originally these wings should have been 1/4 of an inch. They're actually 1/2 an inch because they're quite chunky, but I'm going to leave them like this because I'm going to come in the Dremel and hopefully round them all off, and that will just reduce them down slightly. And obviously we're going to have a left and a right, and the same with the leg. That's a right, I do believe that's the right leg. The feet are just slightly different there, you might just notice. That's more on the toe of the foot, and that foot's resting more in. So that one I know is a right foot, which will be there as we look at it. That will be our left side. We'll have a right hand and a left side, and we have the main body there and a base for it all to fit on. Right, just quickly now I'll pull off this tape, because we have put the painter's tape underneath. That will pull off no problem, like so. We get the one in the arms over here, do exactly the same with this, and that pulls off really nice. So I'll come back in a second when I've removed the other 3 or 4 pieces. Right, so I've removed all the tape, and what I've also done on off camera is basically split these wings in 2. I did mention just then that I was quite happy with a chunky wing of 1/2 an inch. It was just a little bit too thick when I put it all together as a temporary setup. So I've literally gone on the bandsaw and I've managed to cut those into halves and a bit of sanding down. So they have now become 1/4 of an inch wings. I did try to cut it on the scroll saw to start off with, but with that spiral blade, by the time we got finished, they're all different shapes and sizes, and it was just all a bit too messy in there for me. But lucky enough, remember, we did have 2 to play with, so we held our breath and went in on the bandsaw, and that's certainly going to be near enough for what we want. Now the idea with this, I'm going to now do a lot of shaping with sanding drums on a flexi cable on the Dremel there. So we're going to use sanding drums. We might come in with some engraving bits. These are all just eBay specials. If you want to get in there, pop one of those on and just get in between the wings a bit better. And don't confuse your engraving bits with your carving bits. You can see those, they're certainly a lot chunkier from, should I say, your little engraving bits along the side there. Just cheap eBay specials, but they certainly work fine. And if I can just roughly show you what this should look like. So there's our body. We're going to try and round this off the best we can, and we'll do that's the right leg. So that will basically go on there, and we'll glue all that down once it's all nicely rounded it off the best we can. What comes next? Then I believe a wing goes in there. That, just to say, fits in there nicely, and that curve, that should line up nicely with the shoulder, like so. I can just do this without making too much of a mess of it. And now obviously, we have altered the thickness of that wing. I'm just trying to get this up here for you. The right hand should now fit into that little slot there. So when it's all done, let's see if we can pick this up without it all shooting all over. So that will basically be the template that we're going for. That's one side, and obviously we have the identical on the other side. And when it's all put together, it should nicely sit on our little base like so. Okay, right, let's work on this. Plenty of sanding down, put a bit more shape to it, sort of hairline out and a bit of a face on there, and then we'll be ready to glue it all together. Right, we've done the best we can with those Dremel bits. Basically just a sanding drum, and there was a bit of a carving bit gone in there just to go around the face itself. And you can see from that, I've done my best. I am no carver by any stretch, but we put some kind of little grooving bits in there. Look, we've managed to get the hands done the best we can. Obviously more so on the outside. That would be the right, and that would be the left on the opposite side there, obviously. And the same with the gown. We put our little bit of grooving in there, and we've gone around where the feet are on that one, and so, and obviously the same on the opposite side. It doesn't have to be brilliant. This is not a carving piece. It's just a little fun project that basically should be cut out on a scroll saw, and that would be it finished. All these extras, all this sanding and carving and shaping, that's just something I've decided to take off my own. And we can see there, we've done the same with the wings, all nicely shaped together. So obviously two of those, and the main body. Now I've managed to get the ear to go down like that, and I have incorporated some kind of face. And like I say, I am no carver, but the idea is we give it a go, and that's the main thing. So basically, we're just going to glue this all together. Obviously, we'll start off with just wood glue, just standard wood glue. I'm going to clamp this all together and then just leave it. I have another little project to be going on with. So we will glue that together there. And obviously, we'll have the same on the opposite side. And then we'll throw a nice clamp on there, just to hold that all in place. And the same with the wings. I've marked these on the back for right wing, so that will just glue in there like so. If I just do this without it falling apart on me, and the right hand obviously that will slot in there like that, and that will get, that's the general shape we're going for. And we'll have another clamp over there, and then when it's all done, we're looking some kind of stain or oiling. At one time I was going to stain all this first. You could quite happily paint all this first and then glue it all together, but for now we're just going to put it all together and then decide if we're going to do separate dark stain for the gown, light oil for the face and the feet, or just one colour for the full piece. But for now, let's glue it together and we'll have a better idea once it's all nicely secured. Right, that's a do for now. We've got the body, the legs and the wings all nicely clamped in place. You can just see from there. But I didn't chance putting the arms on. We're going to let this all nicely set, glue down, and then we'll come back in and put the arms back on. But for now, that'll do for us. Right, it's a couple of days later. We obviously stuck all the side of the body down, and I literally just stuck the arms on yesterday, day before, something like that. I've been on doing other projects in between, so everything's nicely stuck down, and that basically is that project finished. You may remember at the beginning of the project, personally myself, I don't think it requires another base, but we did cut one out, so I suppose we could pop that on there and glue that down afterwards, should we want to. Now, colouring wise, I suppose a nice linseed oil just to cover the full piece would be ideal, I suppose. You can always look after your paintbrushes while you're thinking about it. But I want to go for the dark teak wood stain. I do like this on most of my projects for now, until the tin runs out, and then we'll try something else. And then maybe just a bit of linseed oil for the hands, the feet and the face. So I'm just generally going to use the brush. We'll dab some of this on and just give it a bit of colouring, and then we'll see what it's like at the end. Right, there's all our staining with the dark teak, and then we come in with a light teak for the base, and then a linseed oil for the hands, the face and the feet. And in the end I just incorporated a bit of white acrylic paint, watered down, just so you can just more or less see the veins running through there, the grain should I say. And that's near enough plenty for what we want on this little project. Now I'm going to spray some varnish on this, you know it's coming. For me personally, it just finishes it off and it will darken that stain down nicely. I'm just going to sit it on that there. As you can see, I've cleaned up my work surface as always. So we're literally going to spray this with a 151 clear lacquer, and then when we come back, this little project will be finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So I sprayed on some of that 151 varnish, and it's just enough to give it a bit of a shine. You could go on forever more if you wanted to, but that's near enough for our little fun project today. Now, she or he has got some kind of a face on. I'm certainly no carver by any stretch of the imagination, but the whole idea is give it a go. Just nice little fun project, near enough what we want. Now, what can we use this for? On my previous video with the little resin, you could make that into a little picture frame holder. You might recall that one on my last video, and I've worked out that just sits on there nicely like so. So you could make a nice frame of your loved one with maybe the angel behind. Personally myself, you could throw your little pencils in there. I'm sure it's going to look after your pencils fine. Or you could be the keeper of your scroll saw blades. I'm sure they can just fit in there just as nice. And let's throw your pencils in as well. Okay, so it's just a nice little fun project that we've used on 3/4 inch wood for the centre. Then we had 2 1/2 inch woods for either side. And then we went 1/4 inch with the wings here. And that is just near enough for what we need. So we cut it all out with our Pegas number 5 spiral blade. That is just my choice of blade. Any blade would have cut this out. And then we came in with those sanding drums and engraving bits for the Dremel there, which I attached to the end of my little flexi cable. And then we started off with our dark teak for the darker wood, light teak for the ear, and good old linseed oil. I've not used that for a while for the rest of it, and a bit of white paint I just remembered there on the wings itself, just watered down so we can still get a little bit of the grain there coming through for what it's worth. And obviously we sprayed it all at the end with the 151 varnish just to finish it off. This is a Steve Good pattern. If you search Steve Good catalogue online, I think it's called Kneeling Angel. That is basically what you get in all your pieces. And it's made a change from doing standard router and scroll saw work. So there we have it. Kneeling Angel, cut out on different thicknesses of wood. She stands in at 9 inches tall with literally 2.5 inches across. Thank you very much for watching.